Don't move. Gregory Mills' voice cracked across the marble lobby so sharply that even the pianist near the cocktail lounge stopped playing for half a second. Security's already on the way. The words landed like broken glass inside the Horizon Grand Hotel in downtown Chicago at exactly 8:14 on a rainy Thursday morning. Conversations died instantly. Suitcases stopped rolling. Coffee cups froze halfway to lips. And at the center of it all stood Naomi Carter, a black woman in a long wool coat and simple white sneakers, one hand resting calmly on the handle of a small carry-on bag, while the hotel manager stared at her like he had already decided the story before hearing a single word. "Ma'am," Gregory continued louder now, making sure nearby guests could hear every syllable. "You are not leaving this lobby until the police arrive." Naomi didn't flinch. She didn't argue. Somehow that made the tension worse. Around her, the lobby lights reflected off polished stone floors and gold elevator doors while expensive perfume and fresh espresso drifted through the air, but none of the luxury softened the feeling spreading across the room. The hotel no longer felt elegant. It felt charged. A white woman near the concierge desk clutched her designer purse tighter. A businessman lowered his newspaper slowly. Someone near the entrance whispered, "What did she take?" Gregory pointed toward Naomi's carry-on. "An $80,000 diamond bracelet disappeared from the presidential lounge 10 minutes ago," he announced. "And she was the last person seen near the area." Naomi finally lifted her eyes toward him. Calm. Steady. Dangerous in a way Gregory didn't understand yet. "You should be very careful with accusations," she said quietly. Gregory laughed once under his breath, the kind of laugh people use when they mistake confidence for authority. "Funny," he replied. "Most guilty people say the same thing." Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Naomi Carter. Two security guards emerged from the hallway near the ballroom entrance, their dark uniforms cutting through the growing crowd. Gregory motioned toward Naomi immediately. "Don't let her leave." One of the guards hesitated, not because he recognized Naomi, because she didn't look nervous. She stood there as if the entire hotel belonged to her. Outside, thunder rolled over the city skyline while rain streaked against the massive glass windows overlooking Michigan Avenue. Inside, phones slowly began appearing in guests' hands. A young man in a Cubs jacket started recording near the front desk. An older woman muttered, "This doesn't feel right." But Gregory pressed forward anyway, fueled now by the attention. "You people always think you can walk into places like this and nobody notices," he snapped. The sentence hung in the air too long. Naomi tilted her head slightly. Not offended, not shocked, just disappointed. "You people," she repeated softly. Gregory realized too late that several guests had heard him clearly. The silence afterward felt heavier than the storm outside. Then Naomi reached into her coat pocket, pulled out her phone, and typed a single message without looking down for more than 2 seconds. Her expression never changed. Across the lobby, a young Latina concierge named Emily Reyes watched the screen at her desk flicker unexpectedly. One executive profile had just activated inside the hotel system. Owner-level clearance. Naomi Carter. Emily's face lost color instantly. And suddenly the woman standing quietly beside the marble fountain no longer looked like a suspect. She looked like the beginning of the worst day of Gregory Mills' entire life. Emily Reyes could feel her heartbeat in her throat as the executive profile remained frozen on her monitor behind the concierge desk. Naomi Carter, founder and chief executive officer of Carter Luxury Hospitality Group. Ownership authorization level. Permanent executive override. Emily blinked twice, hoping she had misread it, but the gold emblem beside Naomi's name only confirmed what her instincts had already been screaming since the confrontation began. Across the lobby, Gregory Mills was still performing confidence for the growing crowd, pacing slowly across the marble floor while security guards hovered near Naomi like they had already accepted his version of reality. "Nobody leaves until officers arrive," Gregory announced again. "Hotel theft is a serious matter." Naomi stood beside the indoor fountain without moving, rainwater glimmering through the massive windows behind her while Chicago traffic crawled outside under gray skies. She looked calm enough to be waiting for a business meeting instead of public humiliation. That calmness unsettled people. It unsettled Gregory most of all. He kept looking at her the way insecure people look at silence, trying to force a reaction that never comes. A young couple near the elevators whispered to each other while watching the scene unfold. "She does not even seem scared," the man muttered. His girlfriend lowered her phone slightly. "Because I do not think she did anything." Gregory heard that and immediately raised his voice louder. "That bracelet belonged to a high-profile guest," he snapped. "We are protecting our clients." Naomi finally spoke again, her tone low and controlled. "Interesting," she said. "Because I thought hotels were supposed to protect all guests." The words landed softly, but several people exchanged uncomfortable looks. Gregory forced a smile that did not reach his eyes. "Guests," he repeated carefully. "Exactly." The implication was obvious. Naomi looked around the luxury lobby slowly, taking in the crystal chandeliers, the polished brass railings, the expensive artwork mounted beside the lounge entrance. 22 years earlier, she had walked through another hotel lobby in Atlanta wearing a clearance rack blazer for a job interview and listened to a receptionist ask whether she was there to deliver packages. Different city, different building, same look in their eyes. The memory passed through her mind like lightning behind clouds. Fast, sharp, familiar. Back in the present, one of the security guards shifted awkwardly beside her carry-on bag. "Sir," he said quietly to Gregory, "should we at least review the security footage first?" Gregory turned instantly. "Are you questioning me?" The guard stepped back. "No, sir." Emily swallowed hard behind the concierge station. Every instinct told her to say something immediately, but fear glued her feet to the floor. Gregory had fired employees before for less than this. Still, she could not stop staring at Naomi's profile on the screen. Owner-level clearance. Lifetime executive access. Suddenly, every detail made sense. The simplicity of Naomi's clothes. The complete lack of panic. The way she stood there like the entire building answered to her. Because it did. Near the lobby entrance, a teenager filming with his phone whispered, "This is about to go viral." Another guest nodded slowly. Something feels off about this whole thing. Gregory sensed the mood beginning to shift and moved quickly to regain control. "Search the bag," he ordered sharply. The lobby froze again. One security guard hesitated. Naomi lifted her eyes toward Gregory for the first time in nearly a minute, and somehow her silence felt louder than his shouting. "Be very certain," she said quietly, "before you decide what kind of story this becomes." The air inside the Horizon Grand felt heavier now, like the entire lobby was holding its breath at the same time. Rain hammered softly against the towering glass walls while Gregory Mills straightened his tie and pointed toward Naomi Carter's carry-on bag again with growing impatience. "Open it," he ordered. "Right now." One of the security guards glanced toward Naomi cautiously. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "we need your cooperation." Naomi looked at him instead of Gregory. There was no anger in her expression. Somehow that made the moment worse. "Cooperation," she repeated softly. "That is an interesting word when only one person in this lobby is being treated like a criminal." Several guests shifted uncomfortably. The teenager recording near the elevators zoomed his phone in closer. A middle-aged man standing beside the coffee bar muttered, "This manager is pushing too hard." Gregory heard him and immediately snapped back toward the crowd. "An expensive item disappeared under suspicious circumstances," he announced loudly. "We are following procedure." Naomi tilted her head slightly. Procedure usually starts with evidence. Gregory's jaw tightened. He hated how calm she sounded. Hated how every sentence from her made him seem smaller. "You were seen near the presidential lounge," he replied sharply. "And now a guest's bracelet is missing." Naomi nodded once. "I was also seen entering through the front doors," she said. "Does that make me responsible for the weather too?" A few people in the lobby almost smiled before quickly hiding it. Gregory noticed the shift immediately. His authority was slipping one reaction at a time. "Enough," he barked. "Search the bag." The younger security guard crouched carefully near Naomi's carry-on while the older one remained standing beside her. Neither looked comfortable anymore. Naomi slowly removed her hand from the luggage handle and stepped back half a pace. Not defeated. Deliberate, like someone allowing people to reveal themselves fully. Emily Reyes stood frozen behind the concierge desk, watching everything unravel while Naomi's executive profile still glowed on her monitor. Owner-level clearance. Permanent access. Gregory had not noticed yet, But he would. And when he did, Emily knew the entire building would change temperature instantly. Across the lobby, Victoria Hale, the wealthy guest who reported the missing bracelet, emerged from the presidential lounge wearing oversized sunglasses and a cream-colored designer coat. "Did you find it yet?" she demanded impatiently. Gregory pointed toward Naomi without hesitation. "We are handling the suspect now." That word landed hard. "Suspect?" Naomi's eyes shifted toward Victoria calmly. "You lost a bracelet," she said evenly. "That does not automatically create a thief." Victoria crossed her arms. "People do desperate things around money." Naomi almost smiled at that, not because it was funny, because she had heard versions of the same sentence her entire life. At 19, a jewelry store clerk followed her through every aisle while pretending to rearrange displays. At 26, a real estate broker asked whether she could actually afford the property showing before checking her bank approval letter. Different faces. Same suspicion. The lobby lights reflected softly against the marble floor as the younger security guard slowly unzipped Naomi's carry-on. Inside sat neatly folded clothes, a tablet charger, 2 business folders, and a hardcover notebook embossed with gold lettering. No bracelet. No stolen property. Silence spread across the room in waves. Gregory's face tightened immediately, but instead of stepping back, he doubled down. "She could have passed it off already," he said quickly. "Call the police back and tell them we still need officers here." The younger guard looked up slowly. "Sir," Gregory cut him off. "Now." Naomi looked directly at Gregory for several long seconds while the lobby watched him unravel in real time. Then she reached calmly into her coat pocket again, unlocked her phone, and sent another message. For words. Protocol Black has begun. The moment Naomi Carter sent the message, something invisible began moving beneath the surface of the Horizon Grand Hotel, like electricity traveling through walls. Emily Reyes saw it first. Her monitor refreshed automatically, replacing Naomi's executive profile with a flashing internal alert marked Priority Black. Access review initiated. Corporate oversight active. Executive operations notified. Emily's stomach dropped. Across the lobby, Gregory Mills was still trying to project control, but the confidence in his posture no longer matched the mood around him. Too many people were watching now. Too many phones pointed in his direction. "Keep recording." The teenager near the elevators whispered to his friend. "This manager is digging himself deeper." Gregory ignored them and turned back toward Naomi with forced authority. "You are still not free to leave," he said sharply. "The police are already on their way." Naomi adjusted the sleeve of her black coat slowly, almost absent-mindedly. "You keep repeating that like it is supposed to scare me," she replied. Gregory stepped closer, lowering his voice enough to sound threatening without technically crossing a line. "People like you always think calmness makes you look innocent." Naomi looked directly into his eyes. "No," she said softly. "Experience taught me that panic is expensive." The sentence hit harder than Gregory expected. He straightened immediately and glanced toward the growing crowd. Some guests were openly shaking their heads now. Others whispered behind raised phones while hotel staff exchanged nervous looks near the front desk. The younger security guard quietly zipped Naomi's carry-on closed again. "There was nothing inside, sir," he said carefully. Gregory snapped back without hesitation. "Then she hid it before we stopped her." Even Victoria Hale looked uncertain now. "Gregory," she said quietly, "maybe we should wait for the officers before escalating this further." But Gregory was too far inside his own assumptions to stop. "Absolutely not," he replied. "This is exactly how these situations get manipulated." Emily could not stay silent anymore. Her hands trembled as she stepped out slowly from behind the concierge desk. "Sir," she said carefully, "I think there is something you need to see." Gregory barely looked at her. "Not now, Emily." She swallowed hard. "It is important." Naomi watched quietly while rain continued streaking across the massive windows behind her. The city outside looked blurred and gray, but inside the lobby, every detail suddenly felt painfully sharp. The chandeliers, the cameras, the tension sitting on every face. Emily turned her monitor slightly toward Gregory. "Her profile activated in the executive system," she whispered. Gregory frowned impatiently. "What are you talking about?" Emily hesitated for 1 second too long. Fear and truth collided inside her chest. Then she finally said it. "Naomi Carter has owner-level clearance." Silence hit the lobby instantly. Not quiet. Silence. The kind that changes oxygen. Gregory stared at the screen, then back at Naomi, then back at the screen again like reality itself had malfunctioned. That is impossible, he muttered. Emily shook her head slowly. It is verified. Victoria Hale lowered her sunglasses halfway down her face. One of the security guards stepped backward instinctively. The teenager filming whispered, "Oh my God." But Gregory did not retreat. Pride held him upright, even as the ground beneath him cracked. "Anybody can fake a profile," he snapped suddenly. "Do not tell me you are falling for this." Naomi finally moved from beside the fountain and walked forward across the marble floor with measured calm. Every step echoed softly through the lobby. No rushing, no anger, just certainty. She stopped directly in front of Gregory. "You had multiple chances to pause," she said quietly. "Instead, you chose humiliation first and facts second." Gregory tried to answer, but before he could, every computer screen behind the front desk suddenly went black at the exact same time. For 3 long seconds, nobody in the Horizon Grand Lobby moved. Every monitor behind the front desk remained dark, reflecting stunned faces back like mirrors. Gregory Mills stared at the black screens as though refusing to believe what his own eyes were telling him. "What did you do?" he asked finally, his voice lower now, stripped of some of its certainty. Naomi Carter stood perfectly still beneath the chandelier light, her expression unreadable. "I did not do anything," she replied calmly. The system responded exactly the way it was designed to. A soft electronic chime echoed through the lobby. Then another. Hotel employees near the reception area began checking their devices nervously as notification after notification lit up their screens. Executive audit initiated. Management access temporarily suspended pending review. Corporate compliance engaged. Emily Reyes looked down at the front desk computer as it rebooted automatically. When the screen returned, Gregory's manager credentials were gone. "Sir," she whispered carefully, "your access code has been disabled." Gregory spun toward her instantly. "That is impossible." Emily swallowed. It just happened. Around the lobby, guests exchanged wide-eyed looks while several phones remained held high recording everything. The teenager near the elevators whispered, "This is insane." A woman standing beside the cocktail lounge shook her head slowly. He really accused the wrong person. Gregory's face flushed red beneath the hotel lights. For the first time since the confrontation started, he no longer looked powerful. He looked cornered. "This proves nothing," he snapped, trying to reclaim control through volume alone. She could still be involved. Naomi's eyes narrowed slightly. Not angry, tired. "Even now," she said quietly, "you would rather protect your assumptions than your integrity." Victoria Hale folded her arms uneasily nearby. "Gregory," she muttered, "maybe we should slow down." But Gregory was unraveling too quickly to hear reason anymore. "No," he barked. "I am not backing off because somebody hacked a hotel system." Naomi almost smiled at that. "You think I hacked my own company?" The sentence hit the room like a door slamming shut. Several guests gasped softly. One security guard took another step backward while the younger guard avoided eye contact entirely. Rain continued falling outside in silver streaks against the massive windows overlooking Michigan Avenue, but inside the lobby the storm had shifted completely. It no longer surrounded Naomi. It surrounded Gregory. Emily gathered enough courage to step fully away from the concierge desk now. "Sir," she said carefully, "there is more." Gregory looked exhausted already. "What now?" Emily turned her monitor outward so several nearby guests could see it too. At the top of the screen glowed the official Carter Luxury Hospitality logo beside Naomi's executive profile photo. Founder and Chief Executive Officer. Gregory stared at the image in silence. The teenager filming whispered, "Oh, he is finished." Naomi looked around the lobby slowly, taking in every face watching the moment unfold. Some embarrassed, some shocked, some quietly ashamed for not speaking earlier. She had seen this emotional shift before. First suspicion, then discomfort, then guilt once truth arrived wearing authority. At 17, she had stood inside a grocery store while an employee accused her of shoplifting a bottle of nail polish she never touched. Customers stared then too. Nobody defended her until security checked the cameras and realized the real thief had already left the store 10 minutes earlier. The apology afterward felt hollow because humiliation had already done its work. Standing inside her own hotel now, decades later, Naomi realized something painful. Success had changed her bank account. It had not changed the instinct some people had when they looked at her. Gregory finally found his voice again. "If you are really the owner," he said carefully, "why walk in here dressed like this?" Silence swept across the lobby again. Naomi stared at him for several seconds before answering. "Because dignity is not a uniform," she said softly. "And the fact that you needed one to recognize power says everything about you." Gregory Mills opened his mouth twice before any words came out. The entire lobby watched him struggle to rearrange reality in real time. His access was gone. The system recognized Naomi Carter as the owner. Employees were staring at him differently now. Not with obedience, with doubt. And doubt terrified people who built their confidence on authority alone. "This does not change what happened," he said finally, forcing his shoulders back. "A bracelet is still missing." Naomi looked at him quietly. "Then investigate professionally," she replied, instead of emotionally. The sentence cut through the room with surgical precision. Nearby guests exchanged glances while several hotel employees subtly stepped farther away from Gregory. Even the security guards no longer stood close to Naomi. The energy had shifted too far. Gregory could feel it slipping through his hands 1 second at a time. Then the front entrance doors opened automatically, and 2 Chicago police officers stepped inside, shaking rainwater from their jackets. The lobby temperature changed instantly. Conversations stopped. Phones lifted higher. Gregory moved quickly toward the officers before anyone else could speak first. "Officers," he said loudly, "thank you for coming. We detained the suspect here after a theft report from one of our VIP guests." Naomi closed her eyes briefly at that word again. Suspect. Even now he refused to let go of it. Officer Daniel Harper, a tall man in his early 50s with tired eyes and silver at his temples, looked toward Naomi calmly. Beside him, Officer Lena Brooks scanned the lobby carefully, immediately noticing the tension hanging in the air. "What exactly was stolen?" Harper asked. Victoria Hale stepped forward, clutching her purse tightly. "An $80,000 diamond bracelet," she said. "It disappeared from the presidential lounge." Harper nodded once. "And what evidence connects her to the theft?" Gregory answered before anyone else could. "She was near the lounge, acting suspicious, and refused cooperation initially." Naomi looked directly at him. "That is not true." Harper turned toward her. "Ma'am, what is your name?" Gregory interrupted immediately. "Her name is Naomi Carter, but we believe she may have manipulated internal systems to impersonate ownership access." Several guests actually laughed quietly at that. The explanation sounded ridiculous even to strangers now. Officer Brooks raised an eyebrow slowly. "Impersonate ownership?" Emily Reyes stepped forward before fear could stop her this time. "Officer," she said carefully, "the system did not malfunction. Ms. Carter really is the owner." Gregory spun toward her furiously. "Emily, stay out of this." But she kept going anyway. "I verified it myself." Harper's eyes shifted back toward Naomi. Something in his expression changed. Not recognition exactly. More like memory trying to surface. Naomi reached calmly into her coat pocket and handed him a slim black card. Harper looked down at it, then looked again. Carter Luxury Hospitality Group, founder and chief executive officer. The officer's posture straightened instantly. "Oh," he muttered under his breath. Brooks leaned slightly toward the card, and her eyes widened too. Around them, the lobby became completely silent except for the rain outside. Gregory forced a laugh that sounded brittle and desperate. "Anybody can print a business card." Harper ignored him completely now. He looked directly at Naomi with visible respect. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "are you telling me this property belongs to you?" Naomi nodded once. "Majority ownership," she replied calmly. Gregory's face drained of color so quickly it almost looked painful. One guest whispered, "There it is." Another quietly lowered their phone like they had just witnessed a car crash in slow motion. Officer Brooks turned toward Gregory slowly. "Sir," she said evenly, "did you accuse the owner of this hotel of theft without evidence?" Gregory swallowed hard. For the first time all morning, he had no immediate answer. Gregory Mills looked trapped between panic and pride, and neither emotion was helping him anymore. The lobby had completely turned against him now. Guests who once watched quietly were openly whispering. Hotel employees stood frozen behind the reception area pretending to work while listening to every word. The rain outside had intensified, thunder rumbling faintly above downtown Chicago. But inside the horizon Grand the Real Storm stood in the center of the marble floor wearing a black wool coat and absolute composure. Officer Daniel Harper slipped Naomi Carter's business card carefully back into her hand. "Ma'am," he said respectfully, "I apologize for the misunderstanding." Gregory reacted immediately. "Misunderstanding?" he snapped. "A guest still reported stolen property." Officer Brooks turned toward him sharply. "A report is not proof." Gregory opened his mouth, but no words came out fast enough this time. Naomi watched him quietly for several seconds before finally speaking. "You never investigated," she said. "You identified a target." The sentence settled over the lobby like heavy smoke. Victoria Hale looked increasingly uncomfortable now, adjusting her sunglasses nervously. "Maybe I misplaced it," she muttered quietly. Gregory stared at her in disbelief. "You said it was stolen." Victoria hesitated. "I said I could not find it." Officer Brooks crossed her arms. "That is not the same thing." A few guests nodded immediately. Someone near the elevators whispered, "Exactly." The younger security guard lowered his eyes toward the floor. He looked embarrassed now, not just for the accusation, for participating in it. Naomi noticed. She always noticed the people who realized too late they had become part of something ugly. 27 years earlier, she had sat inside a corporate boardroom during her first major real estate negotiation while a senior executive repeatedly directed every financial question to her white assistant instead of her. When the deal closed successfully, the man apologized with a laugh and called it an honest mistake. But Naomi learned something important that day. Bias rarely introduces itself loudly. Most of the time it hides behind confidence. Gregory suddenly pointed toward Naomi again like a drowning man grabbing for anything still floating. "She manipulated this situation," he insisted. "She walked in dress down on purpose." Naomi almost smiled. "You are right," she said calmly. "I did." Silence returned instantly. Gregory blinked hard, thinking he finally found ground to stand on. "Then you admit this was some kind of setup?" Naomi shook her head slowly. "No. I walked into my hotel dressed like an ordinary guest." Her eyes swept across the lobby carefully. "What happened after that was your decision." Nobody argued with her, because nobody could. Officer Harper exhaled quietly beside the front desk. "Sir," he said to Gregory, "at this point there is no evidence connecting Ms. Carter to theft." Gregory looked around desperately, as if searching for support that no longer existed. Even Victoria Hale had stepped farther away from him. Emily Reyes stood near the concierge station, holding herself straighter now, no longer afraid to be seen standing on the side of truth. Then another electronic chime echoed through the lobby. Every hotel employee phone buzzed simultaneously again. Emily checked her screen first. Her eyes widened. Gregory noticed immediately. "What now?" he demanded. Emily swallowed carefully. "Corporate executive board members are joining a live compliance review." Gregory's face went pale again. Naomi reached calmly into her coat pocket and pulled out her phone. A video conference notification glowed across the screen. She tapped once and placed the call on speaker. A sharp professional voice filled the lobby instantly. "Good morning, Ms. Carter," said a woman confidently. "This is Denise Holloway from Executive Operations. We have completed the initial incident review." The entire lobby went silent again. Denise continued clearly enough for every guest to hear. "Based on witness accounts, system logs, and security footage, we believe discriminatory profiling occurred inside this property under Gregory Mills' supervision." Gregory stopped breathing for half a second. Gregory Mills stood motionless beneath the chandelier lights while Denise Holloway's voice echoed across the silent lobby through Naomi Carter's phone speaker. Every word seemed to strip another layer of authority away from him in real time. "Security footage confirms Ms. Carter entered the presidential lounge for less than 43 seconds, Denise continued calmly. "At no point did she approach Ms. Hale's personal belongings." Officer Brooks looked directly at Gregory. "You detained her anyway." Gregory swallowed hard. "We were acting cautiously." Naomi's expression did not change. "No," she said quietly. "You were acting comfortably." The sentence landed heavily because everyone understood exactly what she meant. Nearby guests slowly lowered their phones now, not because the moment was less dramatic, but because the truth had become undeniable. The teenager near the elevators shook his head softly. He really thought she did not belong here. Emily Reyes stood near the concierge desk, feeling the atmosphere shift completely around her. 20 minutes earlier, she had been afraid to speak. Now Gregory looked like the only person in the building still pretending reality had not changed. Denise's voice returned through the speaker. Additionally, internal review uncovered 2 prior guest complaints involving discriminatory treatment under Mr. Mills' supervision within the last 14 months. Several employees exchanged shocked looks immediately. Gregory snapped toward the phone. Those complaints were unresolved. Denise answered without hesitation. They were dismissed before investigation. Silence swallowed the lobby again. Naomi looked at Gregory steadily, while rain continued sliding down the glass walls behind her in silver streams. She had seen this pattern too many times before. The confidence, the assumptions, then the panic once accountability entered the room. At 31, she had attended a luxury hospitality conference in Los Angeles where another executive assumed she worked catering and handed her an empty wine glass without asking who she was. When she later delivered the keynote speech that evening, the man could not even look her in the eye afterward. Shame always arrived late for people like that. This is ridiculous, Gregory muttered weakly. I was protecting the hotel. Naomi finally stepped closer to him again. You keep saying hotel, she replied softly. But what you really mean is image. Gregory's jaw tightened. Naomi continued calmly. You saw a black woman in ordinary clothes and decided that protecting luxury meant protecting it from me. Nobody interrupted her because nobody could honestly deny it anymore. Even Victoria Hale looked deeply uncomfortable now. She slowly removed her sunglasses completely and glanced toward Officer Harper. I think I overreacted, she admitted quietly. Harper raised an eyebrow. Did you ever actually see Ms. Carter touch your bracelet? Victoria hesitated. No, the word hit Gregory like another collapsing wall. Denise spoke again through the phone speaker. One more update, Ms. Carter. Naomi lifted the phone slightly. Go ahead. Hotel spa staff located the missing bracelet 6 minutes ago inside a private locker reserved under Ms. Hale's room number. A collective gasp moved through the lobby almost all at once. Victoria's face went pale instantly. Oh my God, she whispered. Gregory looked physically smaller somehow. Like his expensive suit no longer fit correctly. Officer Brooks folded her arms tightly. So there was never a theft. Correct, Denise replied. Only an accusation. The distinction cut deep. Naomi closed her eyes briefly for 1 second. Not relief. Exhaustion. Because this moment was familiar in a way success never managed to erase. False suspicion always demanded proof from her. Innocence was never enough by itself. Gregory finally tried one last defense. I made a judgment call under pressure. Naomi looked directly into his eyes. No, she said softly. You made a character assessment based on race, appearance, and your own comfort with power. The lobby became completely still again. Then suddenly, every employee badge connected to management-level access buzzed loudly at the exact same time. Emily looked down at her screen. Her breath caught instantly. Corporate disciplinary action initiated. Gregory Mills. Employment status. Terminated effective immediately. The notification sound still echoed. Faintly through the lobby when Gregory Mills slowly reached for the employee badge clipped beside his jacket pocket. His fingers shook as he stared down at the small red light flashing across it. Access denied. Around him, hotel employees quietly checked their own devices while corporate updates continued rolling through the system in real time. The younger security guard took one step farther away from Gregory without even realizing he had done it. Nobody wanted to stand too close to collapsing authority. Naomi Carter remained perfectly calm near the center of the marble floor, her black coat hanging neatly against her shoulders while rain painted restless patterns against the massive windows behind her. She did not look victorious. She looked tired, like this moment belonged to a chapter she had already lived too many times before. Officer Harper cleared his throat softly. Mr. Mills, he said carefully. At this point there is no criminal matter involving Ms. Carter. Gregory looked up immediately. So that is it, he asked weakly. Everyone just turns on me? Naomi answered before anyone else could. Accountability is not betrayal, she said quietly. It just feels that way when somebody is finally forced to face themselves. The sentence landed hard enough that even the guests filming lowered their phones slightly. Gregory looked around the lobby, desperately searching for support. but the room had already moved on without him. Victoria Hale stood near the lounge entrance, clutching her purse tightly, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Emily Reyes remained near the concierge station with her back straighter than before. The police officers no longer viewed Naomi with caution. They stood beside her with visible respect now. Everything had reversed, and Gregory knew it. Denise Holloway's voice returned through Naomi's phone speaker one more time. Ms. Carter, corporate transportation and executive staff are 5 minutes away. Legal has also preserved all footage from the lobby for internal review. Gregory closed his eyes briefly. The word legal hit him differently than termination had. Because termination ended a job, legal meant consequences might follow him. Afterward, Naomi nodded once toward the phone. Thank you, Denise. There is one more thing, Denise added calmly. We reviewed guest livestream footage online. The incident has already spread across social media platforms. Several guests glanced awkwardly at their phones immediately. The teenager near the elevators whispered, "It is already everywhere." Naomi inhaled slowly through her nose. Not surprised, just disappointed. At 38, she had opened a luxury resort in Miami only to watch online comments question whether a black woman could really own a property that expensive. Success never protected her from suspicion. It only made the suspicion louder once people discovered who she was. Gregory suddenly laughed once under his breath. Bitter. Hollow. So this is it, he muttered. One mistake, and my career is over. Naomi looked at him carefully for several long seconds. No, she said softly. One decision revealed your character. The lobby went completely still again. Even Gregory understood the difference. Mistakes happen quickly. Character reveals itself repeatedly. Officer Brooks folded her arms and glanced toward the front desk monitors. You accused a guest without evidence. Ignored staff concerns. Escalated the situation publicly. Called law enforcement before reviewing footage. And continued after learning who she was. Gregory looked down toward the marble floor. I did not know who she was. Naomi's expression sharpened slightly for the first time all morning. That is the entire point. Silence crashed into the room harder than shouting ever could. Because everyone understood exactly what she meant. If Naomi had walked into the hotel wearing diamonds and designer labels, none of this would have happened. Gregory knew it. The employees knew it. The guests knew it. Naomi stepped forward one final pace until she stood directly in front of him beneath the chandelier light. You thought power had a look, she said quietly. And when you did not see that look on me, you replaced professionalism with assumption. Gregory could not even lift his eyes anymore. Then the front doors opened again, and 3 executive staff members in dark suits entered. The lobby carrying corporate credentials and termination documents.